Dan Perry joins us. Dan, the former chief editor for Europe, Africa, and the Middle East for the Associated Press. And, one of the things that's come up, Dan, is the president saying something to the effect of, we're not putting any money into Iran. But still, the access to perhaps $300 billion that's been reported for Iran, I'm not sure if it matters where that money would come from. How do you see that issue?
I see it as a stunning capitulation that reflects what must be Trump's panic about losing the House and the Senate in the midterms. He knows the war was unpopular and he's desperate to do a deal. But oh my God, Connell, Iran's been under one form or other of sanctions for years, since 1979, since the hostage crisis. Trump so derided Barack Obama's JCPOA that most intelligence agencies believed Iran was complying with, and it did not remove all the sanctions. Most U.S. sanctions remained. Here we have the U.S. agreeing to unfreeze all assets, which is tens of billions of dollars, to remove all sanctions, and to come up with an additional $300 billion fund as essentially reparations for the damage done in the war. Now, for what? For Iran agreeing to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which they've never closed before. It was only closed because the U.S. launched the war.
Right.
Why did the U.S. launch the war without a plan for the Strait? I can't comprehend.
You wrote on Substack that about the quote-unquote end of American global power as a question mark, but the argument being that the agreement effectively marked the collapse of America's credibility as a global guarantor, particularly in the Middle East, potentially the end of post-war American order itself. So this is more than just Trump versus Netanyahu over there, I guess.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, they used to say Britannia rules the waves, but in the past decades, America ruled the waves, and America was a guarantor of global maritime trade. And of course, America was a guarantor of security for our allies in the Persian Gulf and supposedly of Israel. We see here that Iran was able to blackmail its way out of a military defeat because the U.S. had no answer for the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. had no particular defense for the Gulf nations that were attacked by Iran, and the U.S. absolutely threw Israel under a bus in agreeing to link the Lebanon arena, where Israel is fighting what it sees as a war of self-defense against Hezbollah, in alignment with the government of Lebanon that wants Hezbollah to be disarmed. And without consulting Israel, without Israel being a party to this agreement, Trump has committed that front is over as well because Iran insisted. And remember, the war began because Trump told the Iranian people who had been massacred by the tens of thousands in January that help is on its way.
Right.
The day the war was launched, Trump said to the Iranian people, "You'll get your country back." Well, instead of that, it is the Iranian government that is going to get hundreds of billions of dollars, which is devastating for the opposition. That money will demoralize basically anyone who wanted to see an end of this despotic regime. It'll be used to rebuild the besieged oppression mechanism that Israel and the U.S. has just destroyed. It'll be used for patronage in Iran, and it'll be used to send money to Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, the PMF in Iraq. This is the art of the steal by the Iranians.
Right, rather than the art of the deal.
It is absolutely amazing.
I want to thank you, Dan, and turn things over or bring in Ilan Levy as a former government spokesperson for Israel, listening to what Dan says, gathering your own thoughts, knowing what's been reported versus what we know. What's your perspective on this agreement such as it stands?
The perspective from Israel is exactly what Dan said. This is a capitulation to the Islamic Republic of Iran at a time that America had the upper hand, and America still has options. We're going to see Iran being pumped full of oil money up front before it dismantles a single centrifuge. That money is going to get pumped into Iran's ballistic missiles, back into its proxy armies, back into the forces of repression, and Iran will be more dangerous than ever. There is concern in the Israeli intelligence community. The Iranian regime has absolutely no intention of stopping the nuclear program or even reaching a final agreement after 60 days. I believe it's been reported the CIA also suspects Iran is not serious about ending the nuclear program.
Right.
And in fact, we haven't heard anything from Secretaries Rubio or Hegseth either, which says a lot, I think, about concerns within the administration that America had all the cards in its hands and it's throwing them away.
Yeah, the Axios reporting that Dan Ratcliffe, who is the CIA director, has his doubts about whether Iran would live up to doing what it says, particularly on on nukes, and given their history, you can certainly understand that. What about Benjamin Netanyahu coming out of all of this? There's been all these reports of President Trump cursing him out on the phone, and those elections later in the year. I mean, does this end Netanyahu after so many years politically?
Well, Israel is going to be facing elections in October, and this definitely makes it difficult for Netanyahu to present the total victory that he promised the nation. Yesterday, he gave a press conference on TV and listed the achievements of this war, especially the phase together with the United States, the way the Iranian regime has been weakened. But there is no disguising his disappointment. He wanted this war to end with the end of the Islamic Republic of Iran, because it's the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and the main cause of misery in the region, and a deal that is going to throw a lifeline to the Islamic regime, that is going to give it a windfall, that will allow it to resurrect its ring of fire in the Middle East, will definitely make it difficult for Netanyahu to present those very impressive achievements in this war as having made a sustainable contribution to Israel's security.
Is it your thoughts that he stands by the deal, though, whatever Trump agrees to, even after 60 days, or perhaps not?
Look, this is a deal between the United States and Iran, and Israel is hugely appreciative of the fighting shoulder to shoulder together with the United States. But Netanyahu is saying Israel reserves the right, of course, to act if it detects a threat to its security and its interests. And of course, in Lebanon, Israel is going to continue fighting against Hezbollah. It's not going to let its people be sitting ducks to Hezbollah firing rockets and drones. And I don't think the United States is expecting Israel to let Hezbollah get off scot-free either.
Right. All right. Ilan, thank you as always. Ilan, leave it there with the perspective from Israel.